Here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, there we go. I'm glad you could join us today, Ricki. I appreciate it. How long you've been in DC now?
It's been it'll be 3 years in April. It's been about 2.5 years that I've been here, and they brought me here for 6 months basically to serve as an interim president and CEO. And here it is 2.5 years later, and I'm still here.
Oh, well, I know you're doing a wonderful job. One of the things I like to do, Ricki, when we start these is to just mention how we know each other.
Okay, good.
I met you when I first joined MSAE, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember exactly when you joined, Donna. I can hardly remember when I first joined, but I think it was around 2005. It wasn't too long after I became the executive director of the Mississippi Nurses Association.
Mhm.
So I don't know how much after that you joined.
That's a wonderful organization. In case anyone is wondering, that's the Mississippi Society of Association Executives. And it's just a wonderful organization that is really strong in education. So, well, Ricki, we're going to talk about diplomacy. And I put on Facebook that we were talking about diplomacy on a local level, but I'm not exactly sure that's what you were thinking about.
Actually, I want to talk about it on both the national and the local level, but really it's more about the local level because when President Eisenhower started Sister Cities International in 1956, he had just served as a wartime general during World War II and knew how awful and devastating war can be. And he wanted to find a way to have lasting peace in the world. And he thought that could be accomplished on the local level by building partnerships between cities in the US and cities in other countries. And he thought those personal, local friendships and relationships between people in both those communities could ensure a lasting peace when maybe politics couldn't do that.
Hmm. I remember, Rick, when I was an alderman in Madison, we had a sister city in Sweden,
Uh-huh.
and that was the most wonderful experience.
It is, and I think that they're special in all kinds of ways. I don't know exactly how Madison accomplished theirs, but sometimes cities will build these student exchanges where either high school students or university students can experience life in the other country for weeks or months. And sometimes it's cultural exchanges that the two cities participate in, and sometimes it's even economic development projects that they build between the two cities. Um, so, however it's done, those experiences are life altering, especially for young people, where they can go to that other country and experience their culture.
Oh, yes, I'm sure. And I remember when a large group of students would come over to Madison every year from Sweden. And
Mm-hmm.
they were just, and we actually ended up setting up a business incubator here in Madison for some of the Swedish businesses.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So I don't know. But one of my experiences was to go to the national conference in Miami. That was very interesting.
Yeah, the national conferences are fabulous because it gives these people who work on the local level the chance to network with people from other cities and other states, and they can learn new ways of partnering with their sister city by learning from, people in other parts of the country.
So, Ricki, when I posted that, several people asked me, what does citizen diplomacy mean? And I kind of think I have a definition, but if you were going to share a definition, what would you say?
I would say it's the art of diplomacy by average citizens rather than political leaders or by um, diplomats, people who are career diplomats.
Mhm.
This is diplomacy carried out by average citizens who just want to experience and learn about and share with people from another country and another culture. Um, and we do youth leadership summit every summer for 14 to 18-year-olds. And the whole purpose of that week-long summit is to teach these high school students that they can be diplomats too, that they don't have to go to work for the State Department or become a career politician or diplomat, that average ordinary citizens can try to build good, peaceful relations with other countries just through their own acts.
And I would imagine that is so important for young people. I know I've had a number of friends that felt like their kids needed to learn multiple languages,
Mhm.
um, just for the economic part of knowing that. So that kind of opens that door for a lot of people, kids and adults as well.
It does, and I'll give you a perfect example of that. Sister Cities International received a grant from the State Department last summer to recruit and train and manage 89 youth ambassadors at the U.S. Pavilion at the World Expo in Osaka, Japan. And one of the requirements for being one of those 89 youth ambassadors was to be able to speak another language. And it wasn't necessarily required, but they got preferential treatment, of course, if they had uh, uh, another language ability. And some of those young people knew as many as six languages.
Wow.
Most of them could speak two, English and another one. Most of them Japanese. But there were multiple young people who could speak four, five, six languages. So they were very much sought after at the pavilion by visitors from around the world.
Mhm. What do you think are some of the challenges that we face as far as your program in diplomacy?
I think for one thing, it's probably more needed now than it's ever been because there is so much conflict in the world right now, and it seems like people have forgotten how to be respectful and listen to other people and respect each other's opinion. And so it's very needed now, but it does make it hard when I think there's so much discord and strife in the world, and it makes it a lot harder, I think, for people to work together. And but at the same time, it makes it even more needed in the world for people to reach out and learn about other cultures and values. And it's particularly hard when there's um, political strife between countries. For example, we often get asked about China, and how we are continuing to have partnerships in China. The same for Russia. Um, Sometimes politicians will pressure our sister cities programs to end their um, sister cities programs with a country like Russia or China, or even Israel or Ukraine, and we have to always say that, Eisenhower's mission was to bring peace through people to people relationships. So we have to maintain these relationships even when they're difficult and even when the politicians are, at odds with each other. But at the same time, Sister Cities also is very respectful of the U.S. Diplomatic relations and the U.S. policies on various countries. So sometimes it's a fine line we walk.
I bet. So how many sister cities are there in the US?
There are actually 437 U.S. cities that are members of Sister Cities International. And those 437 U.S. cities have 1,800 partnerships in 140 countries around the world. So it's a lot of partnerships. And we actually, have a really nice printed directory. So when people ask, is my city a member of Sister Cities, or what partnerships does a city have? We're able to look it up for them, and we also have an online directory too that people can go to and see if their city's a member and see what partnerships are there.
Okay. How many in Mississippi?
Actually, right now, there's only one official city that has a official sister city partnership, and that's my city of Clinton, Mississippi, which is partnered with Zarafshan, Uzbekistan, at the request of the Mississippi National Guard. But there have been other cities in Mississippi that have had sister city uh, partnerships in the past. And 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to speak to the Mississippi Humanities Council about Sister Cities International. And I've had a number of calls now from Mississippi cities wanting to join Sister Cities just as a result of that, conversation that I had with the Arts Commission.
Well, and we'll share this on the Municipal League site as well. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for lots of cities in Mississippi to really expand and even expand their economics and potential business as well.
Yeah, there's some great stories about some economic development projects that have come directly out of Sister Cities partnerships. And one of my favorites is Hot Springs, Arkansas, had a 20-year relationship with Hanimaki, Japan. And there was a young man in Hot Springs who wanted to learn the art of sake making. And so the Sister Cities program provided a grant for him to go to Japan and go to work for a sake distillery in Japan. And he not only learned Japanese, but he learned the art of sake making, and he brought it back to Hot Springs. And today, the Origami Sake Distillery in Hot Springs is the largest sake distillery in the United States, and it came out of a Sister City program and their willingness to help a young man, you know, build his dreams. So there are some great stories and some wonderful economic development projects that have come out of those relationships.
That's awesome for especially for the communities that don't have that kind of exposure. This program really gives them that. Let's see, technology and social media. I bet that's had a impact on your program.
It does. And during COVID, it was Zoom and other technology that allowed these sister city partnerships to remain alive and viable. And it allowed Sister Cities International to continue to do programming on the national level. In fact, Sister Cities does an inaugural event every time a president of the United States is inaugurated. And when President Biden was inaugurated, that inauguration happened over Zoom. That inaugural event happened over Zoom. And there are so many local sister cities programs that tell us that they would not have survived COVID had it not been for the ability to communicate via Zoom or other technology. So it really has made a huge difference, I think. And we still hold meetings over Zoom, but there's nothing like in-person interaction. And so we have we have sister cities leaders around the country always say, I want to come to your next meeting because I miss all that networking.
Um, so do you think women play a unique role in local diplomacy?
I do, even though there are, both men and women very, very involved in Sister Cities International. Um, Women have historically, I think, played a really important role in volunteering in their communities, and we have had some fabulous women leaders in Sister Cities International, both on the staff level and in the communities, and on the national level in the board of directors. And um, we have a group called the state representatives that represent their state, and that person works to help local cities build sister city partnerships. And a lot of those state representatives are women, and they've done a fabulous job in helping us build these partnerships.
I did notice when we were working with Sweden, the
Mhm.
forestry, and I'm a work in forestry, and so the
Yeah,
forestry industry really made a big impact in this area, and they're actually the ones that set up the incubator there in Madison. Um,
that's
so if
great.
young people want to get involved, what's the best way for them to do that?
I think there are a couple of things they can do. First, if there is a sister city program in their city, those programs are always looking for volunteers, particularly if they put on big cultural events. For example, Rockville, Maryland puts on a big bubble tea festival every year. And this fall, 15,000 people went to Rockville, Maryland to this Rockville, Taiwan bubble tree festival. So those are great opportunities for young people to volunteer. Another one is the Santa Fe, New Mexico International Folk Art Festival that brings artisans from Uzbekistan to Santa Fe. So volunteering at festivals and other events are one way. And I really want to promote our youth leadership summit in DC. It's every summer. We invite 50 young people from around the country and other countries to come to DC for a week. And they're housed at American University, so they get a college experience, and the whole staff moves into American University along with 5 chaperones, and they get to hear some wonderful speakers on everything from leadership to personal development to diplomacy. They get to go to the State Department and do a diplomacy simulation at the State Department. And we take them to a Nationals game and to the Kennedy Center, and they get to have an event at an embassy in DC. And I mean, that is really life altering for a 15, 16-year-old to be able to do that. And then we have a art competition called Yaz, and we had 340 entries from countries all over the world, and they could submit traditional art, photography, digital art, writing, musical compositions to this competition in DC, and got not only cash prizes, but also international recognition through Sister Cities. So there are lots of ways that young people in Mississippi and everywhere can get involved with Sister Cities.
That's good. Well, Ricki, you know I'm going to have to ask this question, even though it may not even matter. But have the tariff initiative had any impact?
I haven't really seen that have a whole lot of impact. Certainly, it's made it a little difficult for some of our sister cities programs with countries like Canada, uh, which have been in sort of a tariff battle, with the president. So that probably has caused a few hard feelings over the past several months. And of course, the government shutdown is impacting a lot of people right now in DC and other places too. So hopefully both the tariff issue and the government shutdown issue will be resolved soon.
Hopefully, hopefully you're right. So if a community in Mississippi or any community would like to get involved, how would they go about doing that?
They can reach out to our office. We have a fabulous membership manager for Sister Cities. And in fact, we've grown the membership of Sister Cities 57% in the last 2 years. And she's been a big part of that. And so they can call the office and ask for Ashley, and she will help them begin the process of joining and finding a partner. And she and I, and sometimes a few of the state reps, will do what we call boots on the ground calls, and we'll tell a city, get anybody on the call you want. It could be city officials or volunteers, whoever you want on the call, and we'll do this boots on the ground call with you and start teaching you how to build a partnership. And those boots on the ground calls have had an 82% success rate in getting cities to join. So we're happy to help them. They can go online if they want to go to Sister Cities International's website and learn more about it. They can do that. And we actually have a new website that's going to launch later this week. So
Oh, that's great.
hopefully that'll be great.
Ricki, I was so impressed with the experience of going through the Sister City program with Madison in Sweden that
Mhm.
right after Katrina, I started a little local initiative, well, local in the state of Mississippi, and we called
Mhm.
it a Sister City thing. I hope you don't mind. Um, and
You
we
should.
had cities that were non-impacted by Katrina in North Mississippi and the Delta grow out trees for the coast.
Oh, how
And
wonderful.
they would adopt a city. I'll give you an example. One of the Delta communities adopted Bay St. Louis, and they grew trees for a year for the city, or 2 years, I think it was. And then we hauled them down there in an 18 wheeler and handed them out to people. So that
Oh,
program
that's
yeah, that
fabulous.
program went really, really well. I think the idea of whether it's international or statewide or whatever, the idea of sharing and
Mhm.
helping to resolve issues with other cities is great. And I'm trying to do a similar program with our cut flower growers because about
Mhm.
90% of cut flowers are imported from other countries. And so we're pushing growing cut flowers here in the US. So we need to learn from the other countries how their success methods and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So there's so many advantages to having a sister city and having that exposure. So if you were going to leave people with one message about diplomacy, what would you like to share?
I think I would like to share that diplomacy is so important, and it's something that the average citizen in the United States can be a significant part of. And the easiest, best way to do that is by being part of a Sister Cities International program. And it really is life changing in so many ways. I have people tell me all the time that their life was changed at the age of 15 or 16 by a exchange program. So it's never too late to get involved in citizen diplomacy, and we would love to have more people from Mississippi to be involved in Sister Cities International. And I love what you said too about the trees, Donna. There's so many examples of countries that have bolstered their sister city in the United States by sharing trees
Oh,
with
wow.
them.
Mhm.
And one example of that was a few weeks ago. I was in Tempe, Arizona, and they have built a Japanese friendship garden in Phoenix, Arizona that is just phenomenal. And it's because their Japanese sister cities taught them how to build that Japanese friendship garden. So trees are a big part of sister cities.
Oh, well, that's good to know. That's great to know. Well, I've always wanted a Japanese garden in Mississippi. So if you have any connections, that would be lovely.
Sure,
So,
anytime. Yeah, I'm
I,
sure I have lots of them.
I have been working on that for ever since Nissan arrived. I think that's been about 25 years. It would just be such an awesome opportunity for Mississippi.
It would, and actually, our climate, is so much more conducive to that than, say, Arizona is because it's so dry there, and so Mississippi's climate would probably be very conducive to a Japanese friendship garden. So I'll find one to connect you with.
Okay, that'd be great. Um, One last thing. Anything you want to wrap up with?
I just appreciate so much you giving me the opportunity to talk about Sister Cities International. And I'm happy to talk to anyone who wants to reach out to me to talk about forming a Sister City partnership. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Well, thank you for taking the time to do that for us, Ricki. And because I know you're a busy lady, you keep your calendar very full, I think. Am I going to see you next week?
No, unfortunately, I can't come next week, but I really do want to get with you and visit soon.
That'd be great. Well, you take care of yourself, and thank you again for sharing everything. And we're going to carry on with our podcast every Thursday at 6. So if you would like to join us again, we would love to have you.
Thank you so much. It's been fun talking to you.
Take care, Ricki. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Donna.
Bye bye.
Bye.